power that really makes the whole difference. We elect officials, we give up our power. I mean, if you look at it, like we want to put someone in there, but yet we go to the polls and we elect somebody. We're giving up our votes, right, to the polls and putting someone else in charge. And now, when you think about it, it's not a bad system, but also at the same time, be you can't be sovereign, right? It's for then you open it yourself to public good, public safety, all this for the public good, and what you're really doing is you're creating minimum contacts, right? So these minimum contacts are what binds you to the foreign corporation, right? Which would be the United States, not United States of America, but the United States is what you know uh, made up their constitution. And if you look at it, the United States is only 10 square miles in Washington D.C. Now, I don't live in Washington D.C., so I don't expect, like, I wouldn't expect me to be a United States citizen. However, we we became one once we took benefits and privileges, and that could be by way of birth certificate, social security number, um, and stuff like that. And once we get older, we get driver's license. We decide to drive on the roads. This is all public, right? And so I think the real important aspect of it, just to wrap it up, is knowing the difference between public and private and where you fall in line with that. Because if you're a United States citizen, right, because the 14th Amendment has changed what a citizen was. If you look at the common noun, or yeah, common nouns, right, which would have a capital C, which is what was written in the articles defining citizens. And then you look at the 14th Amendment, it's a lowercase c, though that technically can mean anything. Um, and I think that's like a good starting point to understand why we have voluntarily got ourselves in this predicament without even knowing it. And I'll land right there.
Thanks, Matthew. We're gonna go to John, then the baddest.
Thanks, Matthew, for speaking up. There's a lot of truth there. I have a question for you, Shane. You're a state rep, right? Or district rep for a state? My question is, number one, I guess it's two-part. Number one, are you personally aware that the distinction that Matthew was pointing out between a resident, a citizen, a state citizen versus a U.S. citizen, are you aware of these actual distinctions yourself?
Yes. So I despise when I hear like illegal immigrant or anything like that. It's illegal alien. Undocumented immigrant. Okay, you can't be an immigrant unless you came legally.
Right.
So somebody's mic is on. A lot of feedback. But anyway.
Hey, John, whenever you're not speaking, yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. So if you're here illegally, you're an illegal alien, period. Stop. Hard stop. If you came through the proper channels, whether it's a green card or a temporary visa or all the other crappy things they have, I mean, that's a different distinction. If that thing expires, then you got to go, and otherwise apply to extend it. But to call illegal immigrants or now undocumented, that's a complete fallacy. What's happening right now is they're pushing people to states everywhere. What I saw in St. Paul this last week, St. Paul, Minnesota, was a whole lot of people that I've never seen before. And I'm down there. This is my 5th year. I have never seen anything like I've seen now. All these people that are like frozen in time and space, because and there was a gentleman with me in the car, sitting right behind me in the car, that he's a retired police chief, and he's like, must been a new shipment of meth just came up, because these people are like locked up and they're tweaking or twitching or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. It's not my thing, but I've never seen anything like it. And it was everywhere. And this is like what we see out of these videos out of San Francisco. This is what whatever these worst places are, it's happening like abundantly, and it's happening now closer to me. I was surrounded by 4 squads today. I realized I forgot something at the Capitol, in my office. So I don't know. It took me a little while to figure it out, but whatever. So I was sitting like an off ramp off a major interstate onto a local city street, and a car in front of me with his right turn signal on didn't move for like 2 light cycles. And all of a sudden, I was surrounded by squads. I didn't know what the hell was happening. And apparently they said that there was somebody shot. And I mean, these metropolitan cities are going to hell in a handbasket rapidly. And I wish people could understand this, but the influx of drugs that are coming, and the influx of people that do not understand our Constitution, don't give 2 shits about our Constitution, don't care about it. They actually want to override it, say it's a fluid document, and it's got to go away. To which I say the other ways. I actually, in 2021, I was chastised on the State House floor, and I think it's a protest and dissent document article that was read against me, because I signed a letter to Attorney General Paxton in Texas to include, he filed a lawsuit against the 6 swing states, and I sent a letter, well, 12 of us did, I believe it was 12, to include Minnesota in that. And the Democrats tried to tell me that I was trying to destroy democracy by signing onto that letter. To which I said, number one, I had never heard of this thing before. So I at first went, is this bad? What is this? I've never seen this before. I'm not going to tell you I'm a constitutional scholar. It was a new thing to me. And I was told it was bad. Like, can we debate it? Like, no. Can we remove it? No. All right, well, I'm going to wear it as a badge of honor. So when they tell me I want to destroy the democracy of America, you're absolutely fucking right, I do. Because we don't live in one. We live in a constitutional republic, and they want to keep calling it a democracy. I will take that down all day long, and I will continue to fight for it. So I'm abundantly aware of what it is you're saying, and what they're doing right now is they're out trying to outflow the numbers. They're giving license to illegals everywhere, and they're saying that they can't vote. But I guarantee you, there's going to be a handful of them. They're going to use a similar address that they may or may not live at, because it's a lot cheaper to go rent a $1,200 a month apartment and have a whole bunch of mail-in ballots flow to that one apartment than it is to go pay $200 for them in CD5 of Minneapolis, which is what Ilhan Omar represents, because it's what she's done for many years. And Project Veritas back in the day, James O'Keefe pointed that out, and he was completely discredited for it. Well, he's a right-wing wackadoo, sure, but he's got the video documentation to prove it, and it was all there.
And
so
Shane,
there you go.
I genuinely appreciate that. It's evidence to me that you're not the only one who knows, because the real point in the second part to this, I think, is the most meaningful, because what you alluded to, and believe me, I'm not pointing this at you. Okay, I'm not even saying you're a victim of it, but unfortunately, you're now forced to deal with this issue, which is another layer on top of the original issue. And the original issue is, let's just focus on Americans, for instance, right now. And then let me re-ask that first question. Now, the point that holds so much validity to this, and backing off what Matthew said, is that, yes, I know it's a big world and we're all people and we all have rights, but at the end of the day, if we are Americans, born in America, born on a state, there is a differentiation. And unfortunately, we've all fell victim in certain ways to this. Now, why I was asking that question, the importance behind it, is because of the fact now, I'm not sure that you guys necessarily are aware on the House or on the Senate, whatever floor you're representing at any point in any form of government. I mean, are you aware of how the courts are literally railroading over us by the use of an address? And now we're presumed upon as a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen, a resident alien, because we say we reside in a state, and because Nixon passed the Postal Service Act in 1970 that somehow has anything to do with me, and because of that, now I have no state rights as a state citizen, even though I was born on a state. And what happened to my parents and my parents' parents? Now, do you see where I'm going with this? So, if this is something that is known, on your end as a representative, this is happening to everyday people. This is why trafficking happens. Okay, I'm telling you, this has personally affected me in more ways than I'm not even going to go into tonight because for the sake of time. But it is disgusting and it is disturbing. The police are somewhat involved in it too. Now, if they're the low-hanging fruit or not, it doesn't matter. It's because of how they're trained. This is the problem between the police and the sheriffs, because the sheriffs are supposed to uphold the Constitution. Well, this is Nazi Germany all over again with the police state, right? And so we're living in a world where we're presumed upon based on an address, right? So if we use a zip code now because of the territorial DC or the municipal DC, is this told to people? That's the problem. Is this told to people? And now if you are a representative and you know these things are going on, it's important for all of our representatives to understand that there is a massive, massive difference of the state that you think you're representing versus, Minnesota state or versus the state of Minnesota. I mean, these are distinctions that sound so trivial, but have everything to do with everything of why children on an everyday basis, there's more children. Yes, there's probably 85,000 missing unaccounted for, but out of 375 million people in the United States of America, how many families are being destroyed right now because of the downfall of what Health and Human Services and the Department of Health and Child Services and Child Protective Services, and unfortunately, because they have no balls and no gumption, and they want to hide behind their multi-million-dollar screens pulling the strings like the Wizard of Oz. They have their workers do all this stuff, and then they take the heat for everything and go to jail, where nobody's held accountable on the high up end. When is there going to be a representative who says, you know what, you're not necessarily a driver, because if you're not for hire and you're just traveling, you have certain rights. So why are we getting railroaded, getting thrown in jail because of a traffic infraction that has nothing to do with any of us? And it's just never spoken about. It's just, hiding behind plausible deniability. And then the judges are mute because they have judicial immunity. If you're an officer of the court, you have judicial immunity. Well, that's nonsense, and we're getting screwed because of it. So if you don't know, now you know, I guess is what I'm getting at. So I'm just curious if this is, I know for a fact that this has been going on for a long time. I can pinpoint the history, but you got to understand where I'm coming from as a man, as just a private individual who just wants to be left alone and left in peace and provide for my family and earn a living in an honorable, respectful way. I stand in honor. Okay. I love my fellow man. I love my neighbor. I love our vets. Okay. I'm not going to say anything about law enforcement right now, but we have our issues together. That's for sure, because they, in my case, have done nothing but cause harm to myself and my family. They have harassed my father, who is dying of brain cancer. They have harassed my mother, who has just gone through horrible atrocities, losing her grandson, having her family ripped apart because of this nonsense, harassed by local law enforcement, all because of just utter nonsense, political, just garbage. It's just all politics. And this is what needs to be fought for. You want to talk about rights? How about the truth? I mean, this is stuff. Is this even talked about or discussed, or is this just done behind closed doors? Sorry, I yield.
So that's a lot to unpack of all what you just said, but I'll tell you this. So when we look at local law enforcement, police, one of what many of what you mentioned, what happened was to defund the police, dismantle the police. So what happened was we got rid of all the cognitive thinking skill people because they walked, and we got left with all the Sallys that were, or the sheep that are going to follow along with whatever they're told to do. And same thing happened in nursing. Same thing happened with doctors through the pandemic. Exactly the same thing. And where this is coming from is not nationally; it's internationally. And I hope people can figure this out, because what's going to happen is they dismantle all this, and they're going to create chaos. And we already see that. We have carjackings, we have like rape, we have all these bad things happening. They're all getting let back out immediately. And so there's going to be a constant state of fear, which is already happening. And so the police are not necessarily the bad ones. It's the ones that have already said, you know what, I'm done. I'm tapping out. I didn't sign up for this. Those are the ones you rely on, the ones that are now tapped out. Same thing with the doctors and the nurses. The ones that like dipped out because they weren't going to sign up for this, that they saw the killing fields going on through the whole pandemic. And Tom Renz just put out a video about this today, another one. It's the exact same thing. So am I aware of it? Absolutely. Are other members aware of it? Yes. How do we fight it? I mean, you're talking to a state representative who's trying to figure out how to fight a global elitist who they're putting this pressure upon us, and how we're going to get it. My only thought that I have that I can come to is the only thing they fear, all these little assholes in the world, which there's not that many of them when you actually add it up, I mean, comparatively speaking, due to the population, is they fear us, we the people. So until we unite and stand together and make an affront upon them, they will not back down. Now, when it's happened in history, it's usually about 3% of the population that pushes back, or up to, and then there's a major success. If you look back, I think it was 7-8 years ago, maybe 6, whatever it was, France tried to artificially raise the gas price to force people, all their citizens, to buy electric cars. And then the people showed up in massive protest, and the French government caved. I mean, while that sounds kind of simple, it was just about a car. Look at what they've done through the pandemic, forcing people to take a jab that many didn't want. Some took it. That's fine. I'm not going to argue that part right now. There's a whole lot of adverse effects out there that's being completely smothered under the rug or shoved under the rug. And now more and more documentation comes out about that. And they're doing the same thing through our schools. They're forcing upon our schools like books that creates more, normalizes bad behavior that what I grew up with would have been considered bad behavior. And they're normalizing it. I have a daughter who's a junior in high school, and I hear the stories that she brings back to me. I'm not going to say she's completely aligned with me politically, but at least she's honest enough to tell me what she hears. She thinks it's acceptable. Dan, we can't demonize them. It's not that I'm trying to demonize them. It's that I don't think it should be pushed upon our kids. And this is what's happening everywhere. It's not happening just in Texas. It's not happening just in Minnesota. It's happening in Ohio. It's happening in Indiana. These are everywhere. We're letting violent criminals out of jail. We just passed a law. I didn't vote for it, but the Democrats did, to let 7,000 felons out of jail. And of course, we restored all their voting rights, even if they're still on probation. As long as they're not incarcerated, they get to vote. Look at all the people fighting across the border. Look at how that nobody's doing anything about it. When you add it all up, look at all the agricultural land being taken up by under the guise of renewable energy. So and look at all the agricultural buildings being burnt down suddenly, 200 of them in the last 2 years, major agricultural buildings. And look at what's happening globally, how the Netherlands, how Italy, how Canada is all going after the agricultural community and restricting them from doing anything. They're creating a food supply chain problem. They're creating education problem, and they're indoctrinating our children. the more people that pull their damn kids out of these public schools, the better off we're going to be. And the sooner we all realize that, fine, we're going to pay our property taxes, which funds the schools. Let's just pay a little bit more money and let's prove them all wrong. It's the only way I see out of this. But the revolt of the people, and a peaceful revolt, I say at that, but the sooner we all come together and so many people are afraid because of what happened on January 6th. They're terrified to do this. Okay, don't go to DC. That's the worst place you can do it because their judges are all bought and paid for. And that's the other part you talked about. It was because of all of the judges and the prosecutors are all bought and paid for, or slowly have been infiltrated. And so we don't have the equal scales of justice anymore. That's gone and out the window. So until we take it back, we the people, because I don't consider myself a politician, I am a politician. I get that. But the only reason I'm a politician is because I was a pissed off person and I was sick and tired of being like literally screwed daily by all the regulation and all the mandates and all the crap they kept putting upon me. And eventually I just said no more. And I challenged my predecessor and I told him I'd primary him, kind of actually poked him in the chest a little bit, and he's probably twice my size, but didn't care. I was passionate about it. But I stuck to it. And you know what? I've never run for anything in my life. I didn't even run for dog catcher, for crying out loud. And somehow I ran around and I talked to like over 10,000 people. It's one of the craziest jobs you ever get because you have 10,000 interviews. And they voted me in with a 74%. So and I've done it consistently. And I will not back down. I don't care what leadership says or what the political powers say to me. I do what I do. I sit on these Twitter spaces. I talk to the people because the best thing I can do is talk to people. And I don't care if you live in my district or not. I don't care what state you're in. I want to know where the people are more than anything because that's the most important thing. And when we turn this tide and we finally decide we're going to stand up because it's the only way I can figure out my way out of this mess we're in. Because fine, go to your congressman. I've sent a letter to my congressperson. Yeah, kind of haven't heard a whole lot back. It's not getting me anywhere. I've talked to the Convention of States people. I've talked to the anti-Convention of States people. Abide by it. Don't change it. As the one argument. And if we don't do something, we're going down the tube. At the end, all it's going to matter is until the people stand up, which is exactly what the Founding Fathers did. I say we all get a tea bag and go to your local, just massive millions of people, throw them in a damn pond and tell them, we've had enough. This is the tea bag. Is our warning to you. Either you listen to us or the next thing's coming. I'll leave it there.
Shane, thank you so much for saying that. And for anybody listening, I'm just going to say this out of protection for his end, because I heard what he said and he answered the question perfectly. So thank you, because you told me what I was hoping you would say, and you did. You did try, and you were also inevitably railroaded. So that was very telling to me. And just to clarify this international sort of issue you speak of, you're specifically referring, and I mean, we don't need to get into depth with this, just, yes or no, but you're specifically referring to jurisdictional international issues that we're having right now, correct?
With all due respect, sir, by 2030, you will own nothing. You'll be happy. Agenda 21, which I
understand what you mean on the World Economic Forum.
When 30 plus years ago, I read Agenda 21, and if you talked about it back then, you were a right wing wackadoo, tinfoil hat wearing with antennas on it. Now they openly admit it. And if you read through all this, and now it's Agenda 2030, and now it's even 2040. But if you look at what they're doing, they're forcing electrification upon everybody. And why would they want to do that? Well, I don't know. Maybe you all should look and realize you all been put on net metering and you don't even realize it because you were sold a bill of goods saying like, well, we don't have to send a person out to read your meter every month. They put an electronic meter on there, which means they can shut you off if you don't actually agree with them. And now, if you look at Kyle Seraphin, he was the FBI whistleblower that went to Congress. So much for whistleblower protection. But he went there because of what the FBI did. They took 80 or 90 special agents off of the task of child sex trafficking and put them over to monitor the internet or the social media to make sure they weren't saying bad things about Biden and or big pharma, the jab, if you will. And he got thrown out. When you look at the big picture of what's going on, all I can tell you is until we unite, until we figure that part out and figure out how we're going to fight our way out of this wet paper bag, we are absolutely screwed. And I'll actually quote Kyle Seraphin on this, because we always hear about investing in precious metals. Copper and lead was something that Kyle said once that I thought was priceless. You can take your gold and silver and go pound sand, because who's got change for a $1,300 coin when you need $100 worth of gas or whatever it may be at the time? Just think of it that way. Barter, like food, grow food, whatever. We're not in a good spot. Our nation is really it's gonna come down to who's gonna stand up and who's gonna fight us when we stand up, and what we're gonna do with that mess. The Antifa, the BLM, all these people that have been completely indoctrinated are going to be a very challenging thing going forward. And they're bought and paid for by Soros and company and Bill Gates and all his little, we're going to eat crickets and, no meat, whatever. Yeah, whatever. Bill Gates can go pound sand too. So there you go.
Yeah, I think that's already been here, right? Because we technically can't own anything already. That's why they say like own nothing, control everything. We can't pay for anything. We just set it off, right? That's their system. But getting to what I think John was saying, I think a lot of your questions will basically be summed up in something called the public rights doctrine. Basically, it's just the court expounded on the public rights doctrine in Stern versus Marshall. And that's basically going on to say that, the difference between private parties and public rights. And so it is their job as the government to protect the public, because public is just another word for government, right? And so when you think about public, you think of public defender. You're talking about a government defender. They're protecting the government. Public rights, government rights, right? But yeah, I think I just want to say that real quick. It's something interesting to look at, because I think it can wrap everything up.
Yeah, thank you, Matt, John, and Shane. We have a new speaker, Jane, and then we'll get to you ladies with your hands up. But I wanted to welcome Jane to the floor. How are you doing? You have the mic. Go ahead.
Hello there. I'm listening in from the UK. I've been researching child trafficking in the UK for the last 3 years. And I'll just start from the beginning with Tony Blair, who did a paper back in 2005, I think it was. It was the Adoption Vision for Change. And he wanted the complete privatisation of fostering and adoption to be set up by 2020. Now, they knew what was coming in 2020. And since then, I cannot tell you how many children they've taken through lockdown. It's all to divert attention, because this is what they do. I'm a bit nervous. My grandchildren were taken in 2018. It was slightly different because the partner who was the abuser was part of the Italian Naples mafia, Campalla, whatever they're called. And so the whole system, the whole of the players within our court were all working together to help her to abduct the children. So that's how I started looking into this. I just wanted to say, when they set up our private adoption agency in the north of England, which covers the whole of the north of England, they brought in a senior governance officer from the government, a gentleman called Sandip Mahajan, who is a multi-billionaire. He was the senior governance officer for the setting up of our fostering and adoption privatised, whole system up in the north of England. He is a logistics expert and a finance officer for 44 global companies. When I told my MP, I was so naive back then. I had no idea what was going on. Since then, this is nearly 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago, I got surveillanced, and then my life completely just went into a spin with them attacking me in the most nefarious ways, or whatever you call it. I won't go into all the details, but obviously I had found something out that was just, I shouldn't have found out. So this proves that it's government initiative of taking as many children as they possibly can, and the things that they're doing to them, I can't go into. I mean, it's just, I've looked at individual care companies, who they're connected to, who the directors of the companies are connected to, and our children are being destroyed. They don't exist anymore. Once they go into the care system, they're disappearing, and the things that they're taking them for are just vile. Absolutely. I cannot start to tell you what I've come across. I think that's all I want to say. I'm in trauma, knowing what they're doing every day, and you can't go anywhere and tell anybody. My local councillors, I wanted to go to a full council meeting when I found out what was going on. And the head solicitor wrote to all the councillors. When I sent an email, they wouldn't let me speak at the full council meeting. So I sent an email to every single councillor in Cumbria, and I told them what was going on in my email. And the head solicitor told them that they couldn't speak to me. One councillor rang me, because I'd rung them all up when I hadn't heard anything. And one councillor rang me and said, out of courtesy, because his wife had said that he would ring me, he would ring me back. He said, I have to tell you that we've been told that we can't talk to you. That's our local councillors getting their orders from the head solicitor of Cumbria, the council solicitor. So we have nowhere to go with this. And the child trafficking is not spoken about within even the alternative media. They're all controlled. I mean, they'll talk about the vaccines all day long, but the biggest pandemic in this country and globally is the destruction of the children through children's services. And it's all done by the government. It's all, Sandip Mahajan is Sandip, not double EP, Sandip Mahajan. If you look him up, he's Steinhoff. He's a director in Steinhoff. Steinhoff, South African company, are Wayfair. Wayfair, they're connected to. They're all connected to the Clintons. It's all connected. It's all connected. So unless we, like the gentleman said before, the politician. I don't trust any politician, but I'm so sorry, but you do sound like a good guy, really. They're all controlled. We know about Saudi Arabia. They're taking children to Saudi Arabia, and blackmailing people, businessmen, and that, just bringing them into rooms where there's full of children and blackmailing them. We know that the politicians are all either blackmailed or too fearful for families to speak out. We've had 2 that have been murdered over here, and I do believe it's because they were trying to speak out about the child trafficking. This is the true pandemic. I without going into, I'll stop there because I can't go into it. It's too big. It's too big.
Well, we'll be holding more of these all week, and so you're welcome to come back and complete it with a fresh start.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
And Jane, I just want to add something. Thank you so much for sharing. This is John, by the way. I work with, I shouldn't say I work. There's a group of us who handle different things locally, and then we have outreach throughout the U.S. as well as internationally. Can you, if you would like, please send me an email, and I can forward your information over. We have contacts in your area that you can reach out to, and they will help you. Okay, there's people here to help. I would say this: if you're comfortable with it, reach out to me. Okay, I'm not going to force you to do anything. I'm here for you. If you want to listen and learn a little bit more, as the days and weeks go on. But I want you to know that MI6 is not what they used to be, and you don't have to worry and live in fear. That's what they want. So I can tell you what I know for certain, and that's just because of who I directly have sent people to that I know specifically and purposefully, that we've tried to combat this in a lot of different ways. And there's people that you can talk to, and of course every one of us are here for you. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you for coming forward.
I just feel so absolutely helpless for the children, and I don't know what's going on behind the scenes or anything, people do say, oh, something's happening, but I go to these places and they're not stopping. They're not stopping. It's still happening. And until I see children being released and freed, and where do they get freed to? If they are doing anything, what are they doing? Putting them back into the care system? Where do they go if they are doing things? If there are people saving the children behind the scenes, I can't see it. I don't see it. Where are they going? I reached out to somebody because I'm a nursery nurse, and I said I want to be part of the healing process of these children if they ever do get out, and a lot of them will never get out because of what they're doing to them. But if they do start freeing them, I want to be there to try to help the children that are broken. And I can't see it happening. They're still carrying on, exterminating our children.
Yeah,
I believe it when I see children being rescued. I believe it. I can't believe anything because I see it, and I know what's happening to them, and that it's still happening to them. And the north of England is the biggest area because we're the poorest. They are targeting families. They're targeting areas where they want to depopulate because there's too many poor people, and it's the poor people that are having their children snatched.
Thanks, Jane. It's horrible what's happening. It's truly horrible all over the world.
We need men to stand up and protect our children. But the thing is, my son, we had my grandchildren taken and took into a satanic family, and my son's broken, and these men that have had their children taken are broken. We're us families that have, we haven't got the fight in us, but we know what's happening. And what happens is families break and are broken and are hurt. So we need the people that haven't been broken by the system to stand up and help the people of tomorrow that are going to have the children taken, because every day they're taking thousands.
I think the broken ones might fight the hardest. They just need the courage to know that they have more people behind them to do more.
Yeah, we don't have enough people behind us. If we go out on the street, I mean, there's a handful of us, and the ones that go out, they start to talk about their trauma, and because that's you can't get past that trauma. It's the worst thing that can happen to somebody, to have your children stolen for no reason at all, for lies and corruption in the family court. There's no way of getting over that. And so when you do go out and try to speak on the streets, you just end up being triggered and hearing other people's stories and knowing that you'll never see your children again. It's the worst thing that can happen to you alive, while you're alive. And so we need people that haven't been broken by the system to see it, to believe it, and to stand with the victims, and then to stop them doing it for the children of tomorrow.
Yes.
So,
and I just want to tell you, so happy that you're here. And that's why we are here. That's exactly what we are doing. So we're providing this platform for the voices to be heard and to start healing, and then to create change and to take action. And so I'm so happy that you found us here, because we are here for you, for all of you. And so I followed you. And I don't even like the word, but if you just click the follow me back button, I can send you some DMs. And this is the nationwide. This is the true epidemic. It's all about the children, and we are aware of that. And everything you just said is everything we've been speaking about in this space and the other spaces that we're having, because this is what needs to be talked about in all spaces on Twitter. This is the number one topic that needs to be talked about. So if you click the follow me back, I can send you some DMs. And like John said as well, I can tell you without a doubt that he is an amazing person and he has resources as well. And we are here to help you in any way that we can. We have a little tight group of us now, and like I said, we're here for you and all the children to work together. And I'm happy that you're here now, and I look forward to you being in the spaces with us together so we can create change. And we love.
And Shane's a real good guy too. He's really true for the people. He had him in many spaces, and not just ones I've held with other people. And he really does work with the common people. He is the people's rep, truly working on our behalf to make sure Congress is doing the right thing. So we got Luna, then Jennifer.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. I was hanging in there. Jane, I have heard you speak before. My heart goes out to you. I am battling a similar situation with my son and my granddaughter. I don't know where she is right now, in Oklahoma, someplace. It's not okay. The system is broken. And thank you to the speakers like John, Shane, and Jen that were speaking about everything. This is a really horrifying situation. I hung on. I'm really sleepy, but I hung on to ask the mighty Tara Rodas if she wants to come up. I hope I'm saying your name right, but please speak, because your story should not be untold. I heard you, I believe it was on with Mel K, and everything that you spoke about with what you've witnessed at the border. And my thing is, these courts are corrupt, and what's happening at our border and all of these children going missing is horrifying. So I don't know if you feel like talking now, it might be too late, but I know that you're there and we would love to hear your voice. And thank you for letting me speak.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say real quick, Linda, to back that up, that there were some connection issues. So Tara, if you're still here, she may be sleeping. I know it's late for most of us, but I am holding the space again tomorrow. Well, now it's today. And I schedule the time around Megan Walsh's availability. So Tara, maybe you can join us then. You can join us anytime, but I was just told in a DM that maybe you would be happy to be there tomorrow or today. I'm sorry. It's already past midnight. But anyways, I did send you a DM with the information from some other connections to tell me that you probably would like to be there. So I just wanted to remind you and everyone else in the space as well. And thank you all for coming and speaking. And we're not going to stop. We're going to continue. We're going to continue holding the spaces as long as we can and continue our community to promote change and action all around the world. So we love you. Thank you. And I know we have a new speaker, but Jennifer, you can go ahead and then we'll go to researcher. Thank you.
Hey, thanks. So, look, we have to start talking about solutions here, and on the back of what everyone has been saying, Shane and I'm looking. I think it was Jane, but okay, look, our institutions have been completely taken over and corrupted, and this is why it's filtering through every government department, everything. So we often talk about pull your kids out of school, and I completely agree if you can, but I also understand that is not the situation for everyone. Okay. And I know that some people like to get in spaces and go off about you have to sacrifice everything, but believe me, I know what that takes, and it's just not, it's not for everyone at this moment. I do suggest that you try to look towards that. But I want to talk about something that not a lot of people talk about, and that is so the takeover of the institutions and everything that comes with that is happening through the universities. This is why in education, I believe one of the reasons it's one of the reasons they're trying to cancel student debt. They are trying to, everything right now is about in education, creating college and career ready students, because they have to filter them through the universities in order to continue the institutional indoctrination that filters into all of our, everything, right? The government, all of our, attorneys, medical institutions, everything. And so this is a huge idea, but I'm going to put it out there, and I think I need to start putting it out there more, is that you get your child through education, whether it's private school, homeschool, even the public school, right? I grew up in a time where there really wasn't a choice. It was like, if you're going to be successful, you go to the university. And so that's what I did, right? I just followed what I knew and what my parents told me. Or I know families that maybe don't have anyone that has graduated out of college and see that as the way out and the success in life. But here's the thing, that is no longer, I believe, true. There are so many ways to be successful. And for my own children, that is not something, if that's what they really want to do, I will not stop them from doing that. But there are so many things that you can do. So what I want to ask people to do right now is whatever it is that you are skilled at, whatever you are educated in, think about if you were thinking, what can I do to help this, right? If you own a business, if it's skilled trades, it's construction, right? You are looking for those kids or, young adults coming out of a school that are not looking to go to the universities. You can train them, right? They start out at a low level. It's just like going into a restaurant and working your way up, but it's the same thing. But I also want to talk about the law, right? So I know in Indiana, and I don't know if this is for all 50 states, but you can actually, again, this is a huge idea, but I'm just throwing it out here. You do not have to be represented by someone that has went to law school and has passed the bar, right? So if there are a team of attorneys out there or attorneys out there that are like, you know what, we can take in, you know, kids out of high school or whatever and they can be paralegals, they can start to learn the system, they can get educated through that. I can tell you in 5-10 years, if I knew and I needed an attorney and I had to go to someone that had passed the bar, as opposed to this, realistic law firm that has been training kids based on what the constitutional law is, I can tell you right now where I would go for my services. And so you can apply this to anything, but I think people have to start thinking outside of the box. And there's not a lot of reasons to send your children to the universities. If we can start defunding the universities, is why there's this major push, like I talked about. The effect of that is massive. That is how they have taken over all of the institutions. That is how they have taken over government. Everything is because they filtered it through the universities, and they've taught all of these children and young adults to come out on the other end and do all of these things. They've infiltrated the universities to create a new society. And so I don't think in today's world, especially with the internet and everything that you can do, right? There are ways to start training people based on what your skill set is or your knowledge is. And I think that is the way to go. And I know that's a really big idea here, but we have to start thinking about what is corrupting the system and how do we remove ourselves from it. And the universities are a scam. Okay. I mean, they are an absolute scam. Skilled trades, all of those things are good things. But if you're sending your child off to school, right? I can tell you, as far as having a teacher degree, it's completely worthless. You're sending your child off to become indoctrinated. And if they make it out alive, right, and they apply for a job and they look into their history, it may not work out well. But with all of the people that are pulling their kids out of school right now, you could actually learn to be a good teacher and start your own small school, right? Micro school or whatever it is you do. You could make so much more money. You could actually teach these children, to be successful in life without this agenda. And I think, we just have to start thinking outside of what is corrupting this system. And it is the institutions, and it's going through the universities, because that they're terrified of that. So I just want to put that out there. Again, I know that's a big idea, but there may be someone in here that owns a business, that there may be someone in here that's an attorney that doesn't agree with this and thinks, you know what, I'll take on 2 kids next year and I will bring them in and I will start training them and they will be the real deal. And we're done with this fucking bullshit. And that is what everyone has to do. And that can go all levels. Again, like skilled trades, we need skilled trades. I heard not long ago that for every, I think it was 5 skilled labor workers that retire, we only have 1 to replace them. Okay. And you can make an amazing living doing that. Learn those trades, start your business. And so I think we just need to start reaching out to the youth and helping them move forward. And for parents, I would not, if it was me, push the idea of you have to go to the universities to be successful in life. That's just me. So thank you.
You're spot on, Jennifer. Spot on. The university Operation Paperclip. This has been the goal, and Yuri Bezmenov, and the inflation of schools is all to pay for these indoctrination. Well, we shouldn't have to worry about this. If you know of a, I don't know, movement to start defunding schools, let's go. I mean, because they need to have all that out gone.
Yeah, let's go. And then look, AI, right? Technology, that's the next new thing. So for anyone, I hear people all the time in spaces. This is not my space at all, but I'm not very technology driven or know much about it. But if you know it, right, and everybody is afraid of that right now, and I get it. But if you know that space, start training people on how we can use it to our advantage. and how we can help children and how we can help the country and how we can educate correctly. If we don't get ahead of things like that, and I cannot help at all here, but right, then we're just always running, we're always chasing where we need to be. So if you know that space, maybe think about opening some kind of schooling for kids coming out of high school and teach them how to use these things for good. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there, but I think we have to really start thinking about a new way.
Yeah, and I appreciated that. And I know we're gonna end with researcher and a prayer. Excuse me. I just wanted to add to what Jennifer is saying. And homeschooling, okay, at first, whenever I started researching it, it was very intimidating. I'm not gonna lie. It was like too much information because I was on the internet trying to figure it out. And then I realized, well, I don't have to do that. I can just take him out of school and I can de-school him, unschool him. And that's what I did. And it was the best thing I could have ever done. But it was so hard because he worked his butt off to be into this school. And he got his first pick, which was criminal justice. It's a lottery school. It's where it is a privilege and honor to be able to attend. He was in the marching band. And it broke my heart. It really broke my heart as a mother to have to take him out November of his junior year, but he wasn't getting the help he needed. He was being bullied, and the administration, they weren't helping, and his mental health was declining, and he wasn't close with me anymore. And he's my son, and I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, and they're like, oh, pills, oh, therapy. Well, none of that was helping. So I'm very thankful that I got the courage to take him out, and I didn't need an AI. Yeah, I get what you're saying, Jennifer, but I didn't need that. All I had to do is go to the library and I could choose his curriculum and I could choose what he was going to learn. I took him off the Chromebook. I gave it back to the school. I don't want that crap. And he went back to pen and paper and he went back to learning and actually learning and learning the Constitution, learning real history, learning real religion instead of just having to go to church and do it. He started playing his instruments and taught himself 4 more instruments. Okay. And this is my oldest son who is on the spectrum with special needs that I thought at one point, I don't know if I can help him because it had gotten that bad. But the problem is it was the schools. And so as his mother, I am thankful that I had the courage to do that. But now it is very common. And I also want to say really quick, the beautiful ending to this story is that I ended up saying, you know what? We were going to college. He was going to go into the military. We went round and around and around, and every choice that we came to, it was like, nope, not going to do that. So he ended up joining a technical college here, got a grant, got his vehicle, got his GED because he wasn't 18. And the GE test, to be honest, it's not easy. It's pretty hard here in Florida. But he had already taken the SAT because he thought he was going to college, but that's okay. It's more knowledge, right? So now he's working on getting his journeyman's card to be an electrician. He's now surrounded by men, real men, because he doesn't have a father figure. And so he's able to go out and get his hands dirty and work and connect and have new mentors. He's not stuck inside of an indoctrination institution. And he's got 2 jobs now. And I mean, I'm just saying, like, times have changed. It doesn't mean that I'm failing him as a mother because I'm not putting him through the traditional school and through the traditional college way. In fact, he's above all that now because he has no debt and he's going to have a job. Like she was saying, we need tradesmen. There is a high need for it. And you can get grants. I mean, I could. And one more thing I want to say is that I'm in Florida, and recently there's a new grant scholarship from Florida that you can use. You can apply, and you can use the money for homeschooling and private school and transportation.
So if anybody wants any help with that, DM me. One more thing. I'm sorry. One more thing. If you need help with getting a religious or a medical exemption, please reach out to me for all shots. Okay, thank you. And go ahead and please join us tomorrow. I posted the space and the time, and it's a continuation from Tuesday. And the time I chose was just because that's whenever Megan Walsh will be able to attend. So thanks and much love. Go ahead and welcome. Sorry, I'm tired. Researcher, go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
How's my audio? All right, awesome. Thank you. Wow. Wow. It was Jane's share that kind of brought me up here, and I realized you're winding down the room and you're closing out. So I'll try to be brief as possible.
Well, take your time as much as you need. Just we don't want to cut you off.
Well, thank you so much. I'm humbled by your
And
kindness,
just
sir.
quickly, AG Glad, not sure how long you've been in the space, but you're just joining us and requesting a mic. We are going to be closing soon. If you had something specific you wanted to discuss, feel free to DM myself or Tada, and we'll see if we'll give you a mic or not. But we are very tired and looking to close this out. Sorry, researcher, go ahead.
No, that's fine. I just want to say thank you so much for, hosting this room. To the host and co-host, these are very, very important topics, uncomfortable conversations for some, but we need to have them. And, as I was saying, it was Jane's share. When I came in, I was listening to Jane, and that's what brought me up here on the stage. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm an independent investigative researcher from Jamaica. I'm also the founder of a global truth-seeking community. It's called the Truth Seekers Tavern. But I want to talk about trafficking a little bit, right? And to Jane's point, yeah, there's a lot more work to be done. A lot more work. So I was listening to you and I was trying to get some context for the location, and it seems that you're in the European region. I don't have a lot of intel per se on that, but I do have certain reports as it relates to, well, I should say intel drops as it relates to operations that occurred in the past relating to saving children, but that's specific to the United States. Now, in the trafficking issue is a big issue, right? And there's a few points I want to kind of, just lay out there. And I don't think we're going to have time to discuss them all because you're closing out. But, just some points for persons to think about. The FBI tracks missing persons reports, and they release statistics every year. So, just to give you some numbers, right? In 2018, they reported over 600,000 missing persons. Now, to clarify, all of them are not missing because of trafficking, to be fair. But looking on those numbers, you may want to ask yourself questions like, well, how many people go missing that are unreported? How many people get trafficked that are unreported? Just take that into consideration as well as, you process any statistics that we get. So there is a trafficking problem, and it goes very deep. Secret societies are involved. For those of you who know some of those groups and what they do and their operations, right? Laura Silsby, she was arrested in Haiti, and that's a well-documented scenario where these people were freaking caught red-handed, right? No, what happened to her is even more interesting. She was placed on what was it, like a Amber Alert organization, which actually sends out alerts for when children go missing. So here you have somebody who is implicated in trafficking 13 children from Haiti during the time of was it the Bill Clinton administration, right? And there was the whole Haiti recovery movement, and of course, they use that opportunity to funnel money. Same thing they do every day, right? But along with that, now there was an operation that was discovered by the locals, right? And this woman was arrested, and they found out she was connected to the Clintons, Hill and Billary. And guess who came in to swoop her out and bail her? Bill Clinton himself visited Haiti, right? So this woman was trying to traffic 13 children out of Haiti, got caught. The president of the United States comes in to soften the blow. And you can all check out the Clinton Haiti connection and the missing funds, the misappropriation, and all, that whole shit show. But here's what happened to Laura Silsby. She gets put in Amber Alert, right? Which is now supposed to be looking for kids that are, reportedly gone missing. So you have people who are supposed to be in charge of finding missing kids or reporting missing kids, and they're implicated in trafficking kids. Houston, we have a problem here, right? We have a huge problem here, and a lot of people don't understand how huge the problem is. So to Jane's point, I agree. We don't need to send a message out to people like, the white hats are out there saving the children. Because I understand that's happening in the background, but we here, civilians here, we have a lot of work to be done. And to Jennifer's point, which leads me into, my final point that I wanted to kind of wrap up before I hand the mic back to the host. Jennifer raises a good point. What can we do? Do anything that you can do in order to make a difference. You talked about skills. Each one of you has skills. What you need to do is discover them. Take some time. Discover your skills. See how you can help your fellow neighbor, right? Even right now, the hosts are providing a support space, a support group for those who need this sort of conversation because they can't have it anywhere else. What you're doing here is you're providing an invaluable service, to be honest, right? Now, back to some of the things that Jennifer brought up, right? In terms of skills, all of us have skills, right? And these skills can be put towards implementing the solutions to make the change. So while we're here having these conversations, we like to talk about the problems. We like to think about solutions and how we can address them. And that's the same thing that I do in the groups that I curate in the Truth Seekers Tavern. A very similar type of thing. And, these smaller type of rooms are more intimate because, the conversation can get deeper and a lot can be shared and a lot can be processed. So I kind of like smaller rooms sometimes just because they're a bit more productive and constructive, depending on the format. So I, as an investigator, a journalist, a public speaker, I didn't always start out that way. I discovered I had this talent within myself, and I built a community, a global community that has almost 10,000 people right now on Clubhouse. And if you ask me 2 years ago when we started this project to wake people up, to share the information, to provide evidence, on all these different topics, trafficking, COVID, all of it, right? Because it's all important, right? This is what we need to do. Find a way that you can make a difference and make a change and impact people's lives. So Nathan, I just want to extend an invitation to you, brother, and Tada, thank you so much for hosting. It was a pleasure hearing you speak as well. I don't often pop into Twitter Spaces this late at night, but maybe we can have a conversation like this with replays on. And I'd be honored to support you in that endeavor, Nathan, and Tada. So just let me know. I can bring some evidence We can have a informative discussion. You know, I also can play some clips if you'd like, because I have a setup here that I can do. So thank you so much once again for hosting this informative space. I wish I had cashed it earlier so I could add a little bit more to the discussion, but I'm going to release the mic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, researcher. Well, we're going to be doing more, and I didn't record the space for, and then Nitamy, you know the word I'm trying to say. That way, people that want to give their stories, they didn't feel pressured to come up and speak. And AG, I see you requested a mic still again, and saw the DM, but you haven't replied why you wanted to just jump in here and grab a mic. I'm not sure what it is you're really wanting. If you want to speak as we're closing and trying to go to sleep, it doesn't take much to just write what it is. I saw a furry thing pop in here for a minute, then you fall right behind him, and then another locked account with 0 followers. I'm wondering if it's all related or not, but we are trying to wrap it up here for the night.
Yeah, and AG, glad if you want to come tomorrow, we're doing the same thing. You can send me a DM. You'll have hours from now until the next space tomorrow. You want to send me a DM, I'll be happy to give you a mic, but that's the way that we operate our spaces like this. So thank you. And thank you to everybody for coming. And I look forward to having you all, if you can come tomorrow and just show love and support. I appreciate every single one of you, and my heart's with you, and you're in my prayers, and I love you all. And thank you, Nathan, and Biggs isn't here, and Sovereign, Megan, everybody. You're like every single one of you, and Shane and Jennifer, glad you're here now. John, you're amazing. Every single one of you and our listeners, I love you, and you're all important, and we're going to get through this, and we're going to create change. So thank you. Love you, Nathan. Thank you for helping me do this. If you want to close with a prayer, Nathan, I would like to get my sleep.
Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, thanks for bringing us all here tonight and allowing us to discuss these topics that no one wants to speak about. We will be holding more, and we pray that you protect the children that are suffering and give us strength and guidance to make the changes necessary to save our country and the children that are currently suffering. We pray that you give us the wisdom and light so we can see the best direction to stopping all of this evil and exposing them so the rats may flee and they fear your fear of being exposed and stand up and do the right thing. We pray that more men will stand up and do the right thing and will take down all of this corruption. In your name we pray. Amen.
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 Good night. Love you all.
Thank you guys. Good night.
See you tomorrow.